But, my friends, whether I am cool or not cool, what I am is live here to chat about finales, premieres from television this week. I have Kate held hostage, so she cannot stop me from talking about the Bachelorette finale. But we also have some other exciting stuff to talk about that is not inclusive of The Bachelorette, including but not limited to the Mysterious Benedict Society finale. The Stargirl premiere, Superman and Lois, is here with a wild episode that I am thrilled to talk about. And Kate will be pitching to us the premiere of What If. Not that I need to be convinced to watch this show, but I'm very excited to hear in Kate's corner why we should be watching Marvel's What If, as if I have not become way too much of a Marvel fan lately anyways. Kate, hi, how are you? And do we have news this week?
I'm great, and we have some awesome news. I'm so excited about it. I feel like I get to brag for nothing. I have done nothing, and I feel like I get to brag this week. So, just like a little repeat, Mysterious Benedict Society has aired its finale. So, if anybody wants to watch that, go back and watch it. We're going to talk about it. Spoilers. So, I hope you have if you really want to. Then next Tuesday is the finale of Superman and Lois. So we will get to see how this story concludes, and I am very excited about that. As you also said, What If aired this morning, so at 3 a.m. this morning. I did not watch it at 3 a.m., but I'm just putting that one out there. Every Wednesday for the next few weeks, it will be putting up new episodes of that. And then a few months ago, there was a movie I heard about called The Last Duel. And I got pretty excited. I saw who was in the cast. I got a little excited, and I completely forgot about it. And then today, I saw an ad for it again. So it stars Jodie Comer, Adam Driver, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck.
Oh my
Now,
God, you had me at the first two.
Heads up for my love of Jodie Comer. I loved Jodie Comer before Killing Eve. In fact, I'm not actually fully caught up on Killing Eve.
Okay.
I loved Jodie Comer in The White Princess when she got to play Elizabeth of York. And I just was like, I know she's going to be doing great things. And I feel like I called it. I feel like I need a high five for that or something.
Yes.
I earned the cookie. And then obviously Adam Driver, it feels like 2 weeks in a row I've mentioned a movie that he's going to be in. I'm even more excited about this one, even though he's going to play a not so nice character, because I know the story that it's based on, and I know he's not great. So, then just because I already mentioned her, I'm going to mention her again. Jodie Comer and Ryan Reynolds star in Free Guy, which is like a video game meets reality movie, which is something I may or may not be interested in seeing, but because I've mentioned her once, might as well mention her again. And just as we logged on, I saw that it has been announced that as they're trying to redo the Powerpuff Girls show, Chloe Bennett has left the Powerpuff Project.
The Powerpuff Project.
She was
wow.
She was the star. She was the
main one.
Lead. Yeah, and
I didn't actually see that news. Do we know like who's replacing her?
No, it was on Twitter trending just as we were both logging in. Okay. So I didn't really get a chance to read all that much.
So it was like 2 seconds ago type of thing.
2 seconds ago.
Huh.
But I thought it was interesting, and I thought I would throw it in there because we have talked about it several times. And also on Twitter, there is a ton of Olicity goodies that Mark Guggenheim keeps dropping, all like the different scripts. So if anybody's interested in reading those, I highly recommend. It is interesting to see the small tweaks and things that they've changed from script to screen.
I did
and
see
it just proves that we were really lucky. We were really good and blessed with Olicity.
Yes. You know, I say this and like, I know I'm biased. I get it. But also in this case, like bias aside, I'm 100% right. I'm like very, very sure I'm right about this. When it comes to like specifically fans of Oliver and Felicity, it's, you know, like you always have some bad apples and you've always got some great people, but collectively, you know, summarizing everybody, it's one of the best like good people fandoms I've seen in a really long time overall, and that's really evidenced by how like they're still doing charity work and they still like, one thing that's like I think a lot of people may speculate about, but it's like not often that you like know for sure, is like whether or not like the powers that be, like the writers, the press for the show, whatever, like likes your fandom. The Felicity fandom is very well liked, as opposed to like some other CW fandoms that are like low key hated by the writers. um, so it's just, it was really
Fans of
nice.
their own show and then like made fun of in said show.
Yeah.
Who are we talking about?
Yeah. If the shoe fits, then you probably know what I'm talking about. So with the Arrow fandom, like with Oliver and Felicity in particular, like seeing them come together and like do like a cutesy charity campaign in like 2021 and like get scripts and goodies and stuff, I just think is really, really sweet. There's just like a lot of goodwill on all sides for that. And I'm also sad to see Chloe drop out of the Powerpuff Girls. I have now pulled up the tweets. Pour one out, shed one tear, and shed an extra tear for whoever signs on to this project to replace her, I guess. There's a delay. So if you're hearing,
I'm so interested to see if we hear anything else about the Jane Austen. Wow, that is a massive delay.
That is a massive delay, 100%. So what we've learned from this delay, guys, is that if I make a joke and Kate doesn't laugh, it's not because I'm not funny. It's because there's a delay. I'm funny. Laugh. In the chat, Stormy says, "Hi, everyone." Carrie says, "Hello, ladies. I watched Soups and Lows, Stargirl, and What If this week. Fantastic television." Carrie, you are up to speed on everything we're about to talk about. Stormy says, "Slight Felicity goodie. Mark has been releasing old scripts because of the cancer charity fundraiser." One of the pages showed Iris saying Oliver and Felicity getting married alongside her and Barry made it special. That is, in fact, the only thing that made them getting married special. And Stormy also says the Powerpuff show sounds like a mess. A main actor leaving after filming the pilot isn't promising. It's not promising. But at the same time, I will say in this situation with like, there's a few things that make this a little more understandable. Number one, Chloe Bennett is kind of, she's in a couple different genres. Like she's in TV, yes, but she's also done some stuff in music and she's also done some like online this and that work. So for her to jump from like kind of being like a lead-ish in an ensemble in a Marvel show to being lead of Powerpuff, she's pretty, like I'll say, like highly qualified. You know, like they were lucky to get her, so they would have to do a lot to keep her. And with budgets being what they are, with COVID complexities, with filming being delayed, and she may have some other projects that are suddenly coming up now that filming's allowed. Like I completely see this being a space for like a lot of actors who like the show was maybe lucky to get might be leaving right around this time. But we'll see who they get to replace her as well.
Yeah. I would argue like Dove Cameron was the more popular of the two. She was probably more well known for the general public, or at least the CW crowd. Mm-hmm. But that's probably why Dove Cameron hasn't left yet, is because she has done mainly CW or esque projects. And Chloe has very much a broader net of things that she can do. And she saw that there was any issues. She probably took the opportunity, whatever reason specifically, to jump ship. I don't blame her.
No, 100%. I think there's just going to be a lot of turnover right now as like I'm not saying like the pandemic is over, like it's not. I get it, like variants and Delta and other Greek letters, like I don't know, Kate, math is so hard, but like
Lambda. No, don't make another one. Sorry.
Lambda. Sorry, it's
We
not
don't need another
funny.
one. We don't need another one.
No more, no more. I get that the pandemic's not over, but a lot of the film industry is stabilizing. But with that stability means like people are moving to different projects. So yeah, I'm not surprised by any turnover right now, especially for a show where the premiere hasn't even aired yet. But we'll see where we go with that. For this week, we have a remarkably small number of CW shows to discuss, Kate. We have Superman and Lois, and we have Stargirl, and I think we both watched Superman and Lois, but did you watch Stargirl this week?
I haven't watched Stargirl.
Cool. Okay, that's what I thought. Just checking. I don't know why my voice went up like 2 octaves. Yeah. So Stargirl, I'll start with that real quick. I'm curious, Stormy and Carrie in the chat, if you watched Stargirl and what your thoughts were on the season 2 premiere. I won't go through any like spoilers necessarily, but Kate, I do think this is a show that you would actually really like. So it's kind of cheesy and kiddie. It's not so much teen in the way that there's like teen aspects to Superman and Lois. It's truly almost more like it's almost more like the age range that might be watching Mysterious Benedict Society. I feel it's aimed for, but it's just really like well done for a comic book show. It's very feel good. It's very like they really have captured that element of heroism that you would hope that like if you're watching this with like your, you know, preteen sister or niece or something that you would like want her to see. It's just really cute. There's a couple like ship potentials, but it's not even necessarily so much about the shippy aspect of it, just because like the youthful nature. This season, the second season, it sounds like they're really getting into like look at how much it could disrupt your life to put on this suit. Are you willing to disrupt your life this much to like put on this suit? And it's just so far it's done in a really cute way. I like her costume. I like everything about it. So I'm curious if anybody else is kind of like ushy gushy over this show. It's nothing that's like gonna win an Emmy or anything like that. Like it's just a basic CW show, but it's pretty well done. It is not as good as Superman and Lois. However, would you like to kick us off with your thoughts on Superman and Lois for this week?
So I was watching it, and I just really want to take a moment to appreciate, as a literature nerd, the literary parallels that they were using. So when she almost got killed, I mean, obviously she wasn't going to get killed. It's Superman and Lois first season. We all know she wasn't going to die, but the level of tension they brought up by kind of foreshadowing earlier in the season that was how alternate version of her got killed. That was, it's weird to say lovely, but that's the best way I can describe it. It was a nice turn circle. It made me very happy in a weird way. It's also one of those things that I would say all of the actors continue to raise the bar more and more, but Lois especially just kind of comes every week and hits it out of the park. It does sometimes feel like it's not a CW show, and what I mean by it is for how campy the idea is, it doesn't feel overly put on. The costumes for how superhero-y they are, it's not as cheesy as a show that starts with F. I don't know. And the dialogue and the acting kind of take it to a level that is so surpassing what I am used to with the CW. It is kind of every once in a while it's rattling. I'm like, this is so good. I like this. I'm interested, and nobody's acting so irrationally that's laughable. Everything that's irrational is humanly irrational. Everything that is rational, it's not like robotic. It feels very organic in a very superhuman story, which is awesome. I think that's a really great aspect that they brought to this that reminds me a lot of the early seasons of Arrow, and I would say also like season 6 and 7.
I would agree with that. I really agree with specifically your statement that like tonally it's comparable to late stage DCCW in places where it hit its stride, even though this is only season one. And it's really easy to sort of, well, for me, it's really easy to suspend disbelief because there are no like kind of moments where something is so much jumping the shark to where it pulls you out of it. I want to go down a tiny rabbit hole and give you a, it's not a new kind of crack theory, it's like an extension of a theory I was starting to touch on in prior weeks. Bear with me, it is ship related and it has to do with the younger ships and it has to do with the love triangle. Worse than that, it has to do with a sibling love triangle. Are we braced? Are we ready?
I know where you're going with this. I knew before you even told me. Go
Okay, do you
ahead.
know exactly which scene I'm about to cite? There was like one
I'm pretty
particular
sure I
moment where I was
do.
like, they would only
Hang
put that
on.
in. Sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead.
it was very much, it felt like a, no, I meant like a hang on, wait a second, I know what you
Yes.
just did kind of
Yes.
thing. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. You can say it. Well, I'll say it.
I I think I know what you're talking about. What scene is it?
Okay, so it
Yeah.
is. Sorry, there's like a delay. That's why we're talking over each other. Bear with us. Okay, here's the scene. Okay,
7 second delay.
so blonde kid. What's his name again? What's the blonde brother's name? There's Jonathan and
Jonathan.
Jordan. Jordan is the blonde jockey one, and Jonathan is the curly dark one, right?
No, Jordan is the dark haired one and Jonathan is the jock.
Cool. I make it a point to never learn men's names, but okay. So Jock blonde brother, okay, who's totally not dating Sarah. Notice how I knew her name, okay? Sarah, the one that curly dark haired kid Jordan is like pseudo dating or whatever. Okay. So there have been moments that in my wealth of experience, in the length of time that I, grandma, have been on this universe, I've just learned certain patterns of what goes into shows when they're ready to set up a ship, a love triangle, etc. And they had been doing that so subtly, like I mean truly subtly, like where you could easily believe that this is all in your head, okay? When it came to Jonathan and Jordan and Sarah. Now, we're kind of predisposed to sort of look for it because the CW is notorious for sibling love triangles. So even if they truly weren't going down this route, we would, like both of us would still probably wonder, like, are they going to go down this route? I'm not rooting for it, by the way. I just like, I know reality. Okay. But then they started to do a couple things
No,
where ever so slightly, they would have the jock guy somewhat taking care of Sarah in certain ways or seeming like attuned to her feelings, but in a like subtle non-romantic way where like they weren't playing romance music over it. It could be easily interpreted as a simple friendship. He had a girlfriend, whatever. So it could be very easily seen as like, you're crazy, you're being crazy. That's not what's happening here. However, indisputably in the last episode something happened, and it was the scene where jock guy is talking to the hot girl that tried to manipulate information out of him previously, and they're being flirty, and it comes to like this pinnacle flirty moment where like she's doing her little thing and she does this little laugh and it's like supposed to keep his attention, and Sarah's literally just walking past him, does not even look that upset. Like she looks like mildly upset, and immediately his attention is turned away from cute flirty girl onto Sarah, and he's like, Sarah, what is it, what's wrong? And she like rushes past him and she goes inside, and that's when she goes and talks to like broody curly guy and tells him that they might be moving, whatever. There is no plot-based explanation for why that interaction would be in this show if they're not setting up for a sibling love triangle. You cannot convince me I'm wrong. I have read the ancient scripts. I know where this is going.
I know I can't convince you, and I know I'm going up against a mountain of logical reasoning, but I just want to take the devil's advocate approach. I did watch the scene. I did go, I know what you're doing. I don't like it. Because I'll point to this. The first few episodes, there was actually more scenes to me that hinted at a Sarah Jonathan romance than a Sarah Jordan romance. Part of that was probably because of what Jordan was going through at the beginning of the season, but there it was. Now, throughout the show, I hate to say this, and he's not a bad actor, but part of it is because he is the youngest actor on the show. Jordan is the weakest link, and
100%.
I'm sorry to point it out, but it's how it is. So sometimes he and Sarah have great chemistry because he's doing well in the scene. Other times you can see he gets very stiff and uncomfortable, and he doesn't know how to act in that scene, and you feel it's almost become very like she's mature senior or going off to college, and he's awkward bubbly freshman. That's what the dynamic immediately becomes.
100%.
Whereas Jonathan is the actor himself is older, and he's one of the top actors in the show. Honestly, that scene episode a few weeks ago with him and Lois, that was probably the most emotionally evoking episode yet.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that, I think there is a level of we always feel the superiority of his chemistry with everybody in general, and his ability to act and like kind of make up for the weaknesses of others in that scene. I would argue that they've done a really great job of making Jonathan a surprisingly three-dimensional character. He has this attitude like he should be that like ditzy or even sometimes jerkish jock older brother, even though they're twins, older brother, he's the older of the two. Just the energy of it radiates that. But he is extremely understanding, is very kind, just wants to help, struggles with his own insecurities of not having his own powers, but really in the long run wants to protect his friends and his family, and specifically his brother. And because how he sees what his brother's going through is mainly his brother can't tell Sarah half the things about his life because of who they are and what's going on. Jonathan can get away with not having to tell everything because he's only lying about other people's lives. He's not lying, and it's also not like he's lying to his girlfriend. So he's the shield that gets to protect his brother by being a friend to Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
Do I still detect hints of possible romance or what they're trying to make us think? Yes. Do I think that would be a terrible move on their part and ruin not one but three characters? Yes. I think they should not do it. I think they should stay as clear as possible. You can hint, you can make them seem a little closer than they should be. But don't make this sibling dynamic a love triangle, because, like I said, they're both very well developed characters already for teenagers, especially. They are both extremely caring. They get into fights, but they are very understanding of each other. And I think it would make me dislike Sarah for how she has treated Jordan in that case. It would make me dislike Jonathan because of how he would have betrayed his brother. And it would make Jordan jealous, and he would, as a teenager, they would rate him overly irrational, and it would then drive me crazy, and I wouldn't like him. Then the only person I would have really liked is Lois and occasionally Clark, and you've lost me half the show.
That's so fair, and I completely agree with you. Like, we've talked at length at the fact that we find sibling love triangles to be not only unpleasant but kind of unrelatable. I don't think it's realistic. It's never been realistic in my experience. It's not something I can relate to, and I just haven't like seen it amongst like any like sibling pairs in real life. So it feels like this kind of weird soap opera-y thing that is disconnected from real life. However, I think if they are truly trying to make one of the brothers be a villain, not sure which one, that is a direction they could go. The person that I think this uh, irretrievably ruins, I guess, for lack of a better way, and I hate to use that term for a woman, would be Sarah. Because however she handles it, whether she is loyal, is not loyal, shares feelings, does not share feelings, because thus far it doesn't seem like she has shared feelings with Jock Bro. She only likes Emo Bro thus far. It's entirely on Jock Bro's end that I'm like, I know what's going on here. I see it, but it feels one-sided. But regardless, whether she does or doesn't share affection, once she gets sort of embroiled in that, that will ruin her character, because what they're going to do is do a glorified bros before hoes thing where the brothers fight. One of them's like, breaks up with her, excuse me, whatever. The other one is like, oh, I would never, like, I'm leaving the country. I'm not even go near her. I would never go near, your woman. These feelings are my issue, whatever. And they'll do some like sexist bro before hose thing. She'll be written out of the show entirely or die or turn evil. Whichever bro goes evil will be redeemed. Like, it'll be that sort of situation. But like, I see the writing on the wall. I see them going this direction or setting up the option to go this direction. And I'm wholly against it, not just because I don't like that kind of storyline, but because I don't think this show needs that kind of storyline. But they are keeping the option open for it, and they are actively keeping the option open for it, and I just find that interesting. I do find Lois more interesting, though.
Yeah. Like I don't mind that they keep that door open, but maybe they fill it eventually and then we don't have to worry about it anymore. Let's make a smart choice instead of a CW choice for once, please. But yes, I love
Put that quote on
Lois.
my
I love
tombstone.
Lois always. What
Let's make a smart choice instead of a CW choice for once.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is inaptly named. Um, I feel like we actually almost always see more of Lois, or at least Lois making decisions. I don't feel like it's a completely just Superman Never Clark show, but the past few episodes have strictly felt like the not even like you don't even see Superman a lot. You hear the discussion of Superman and his powers a lot, and then you actually see Lois taking care of the problem, which is like really that is the one good thing about CW shows that I really enjoy. That there's the figurehead that we're like that's the hero, and then the woman that supports him is like no, I'm here. We'll say that for his ego, but I'm here fixing the problem.
I love the dynamic between Superman and Lois. I love the dynamic between Lois and her job. I love the cheesy disaster live reporting. It required so much suspense of disbelief, and I fully suspended all disbelief. I there's moments in any Superman story, not necessarily this show, where you're sort of like, you're just reminded that Superman is very OP, like overpowered. And this episode had a couple moments where I was like, once again, reminded that Superman is like a little bit overpowered, but I didn't mind at all. So overall, I feel like there's
Yeah.
no way this season
Well,
does not end
yeah, he's
strong.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if you watched the promo. I know you've stopped doing that as much as you used to, but the trailer was like a minute and a half long, and I'm pretty sure it showed every scene in it. But it looks good. It looks action packed, but it also looks like it's gonna have the emotion that we've come to know for the show. So I'm excited about it.
I'm very excited about it. Okay, so speaking of emotion and action packed, we need to get into the Mysterious Benedict Society finale. Okay, even though you had told me last week the spoiler about Kate and Mulligan being her dad, that scene still hit me. That was beautifully done. I loved his whole reveal to her. Incredible. Also, you got your grappling hook scene. Also, we got Kate and Constance Contraire bonding. Also, we got Constance kind of essentially overpowering the, you know, brainwashy situation, the whisper, the whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Just so many good moments. This was a fantastic finale. Thrilled. What do you think?
I loved it. So I mentioned before that they involved a little bit more of the Martina storyline than was in the book, or at least from what I remember. Um, and so we got that scene of her and Kate in the interrogation room. And honestly, I loved that scene. It was one of my favorite scenes. I because of how much like we don't have to they don't beating us over the head with like, hey, be a good person, be loyal, try not to lie if you have to lie, like what's the reason for lying, all this stuff. But you see that Kate didn't mean to drag Martina into this problem. She has fully realized how to the extent in which Martina is in this problem, and Philly goes, yeah, "I'm gonna get you out of here, like real quick, like not her fault at all. It's mine, it's me." And Martina it's also really great because as much as Martina hates her at the very beginning of that scene, the moment Martina understands how much Kate did not mean to do this, it's like, oh, so you still are my friend. I am on your team now. And then the well, cheesy but amazing scene part where she brings the rest of the tetherball team to save Kate and Milligan. It was I it was a nice addition that I was not expecting, but I loved it nonetheless. Um, in fact, I got kind of emotional in certain beats of this
Mm-hmm.
finale. So like the Kate and Milligan and the Kate and Martina and the Kate and Constance. If you're noticing a pattern here, good.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I found myself because recall that when I was first marathoning this show, it was very background for me to the point where like I went into this, I was like, this is going to be mindless and happy and background, and I don't really have to pay attention to the story. I'm certainly not going to put any effort into remembering anybody's names, you know, et cetera, et cetera. I found the finale when watching it that there were several moments that were like actively pulling me in and like I couldn't multitask very well. I ended up I as I think you can tell, I ended up watching it later on a weekend because I didn't want to watch it during the workday because I tried to start watching it during the workday and like 5 minutes in I was like, oh, this is actually really interesting and I actually want to pay attention to this. So it got relegated to I think like Sunday night or something. But it was so excellent.
Yeah.
I really would watch this show if it was Kate only, but I want to say I really like the team dynamic as a whole. Like, I like every single member of that team. I really like their kind of team chemistry together. I continue to dislike the adults, and I kind of pinpointed in this finale that I don't just like the adults because like I feel like they make bad choices that I really only forgive in like kid characters. It's also because I think the adults don't pull off like heroic cheesy as well as kids do. Like with the kids, you've got this sort of heroic cheesiness to their motivations that a child can pull off. But with the, kind of lumping together the good guy adults, when they're talking about like we knew it would have to be children, it's always like there's just something about that that's like it's just weird when you say it. Like I don't know, something about the adults universally off-putting to me, but the
Yeah.
kids 10 out of 10.
Well,
Mulligan's the exception, of course.
Mulligan is the complete exception. I would say part of the time, like Rhonda and number two were fine. And then on the flip side, when he was Mr. Curtin, I think that actor did a fantastic job as Mr. Curtin. That last episode, he actually kind of was a little creepy as that character. But there was something about how frantically he played Mr. Benedict that kind of made me feel like that it was put on too much. Whereas like because he was supposed to be kind of like the most normal of the adults. Like Milligan is a completely straight man and like says nothing with a smile and is completely devoid of emotion until you see he has every emotion. He just has no access to his memory. And number two, like she goes by number two. She only wears yellow. She eats all the time. She's supposed to be strange and like illogical, but at the same time the most like methodical in thinking. And then Rhonda is kind of the calm nature. And so all of them, there were points where the Rhonda and number two were like, that's a little too weird. This feels a little campy or like cheesy. But because they were playing these characters that were meant to be that, it didn't bother me as much. But Mr. Benedict was supposed to be kind of like the normal guy, just caught up in an obsession about this thing. And he kind of came off more as like this anxious ball of energy that couldn't get anything done and couldn't trust his own opinion. The further along it went, because at first I didn't really mind it, but the more episodes we had, the more his back and forth of we should get the kids, we shouldn't get the kids, we should get the kids. I was like, okay, let's pick one and move forward.
There's something
But
like in kids shows in particular that is very off-putting about unstable adults. So like, and maybe that's just what I'm like, how I'm programmed to interpret it, but or like conditioned to interpret it. But I feel like in any like kid or young adult, but especially like a kid show like this, when an adult is like extremely normal, extremely stable, boring, they get relegated to like the mom, the dad, the teacher. Like the normal adult is always good. And then adults that are like over the top, kind of like melodramatic, emotionally unstable, are almost always bad guys. And it's kind of weird to see like an over the top emotionally unstable person as a good guy cuz I think I don't like that. Like I don't think I would want like a kid trusting an
yeah,
adult who acts like that. And I know I'm like overthinking a kid show and harping on this one character, and I loved the show overall. Really did. I understand there's like intentional melodrama woven into this as a theme, especially as they talk about like emotion and emotional regulation. But I just, something about Benedict, I genuinely, until I think we talked last week, was kind of wondering if Benedict was going to be revealed to be like a bad guy at some point.
I guess that's fair. I don't think I had really thought of it like that, but I obviously read the book, so I there's a little bit of a preconceived idea of what's actually going to happen. Um, but I will actually say, other than Mr. Benedict, I liked the good adults. I liked Mrs. Pamela. There was mistakes and things like that, but overall, I liked them. With Milligan being my favorite. However, when you look at the adults on like the villain side, um, it's not that I liked them, but like I disliked them in the correct way. I
Yeah.
disliked them for their villainy, but I thought that they pulled off the villain approach very well.
Yeah.
And I think it was something to do with the contrasting of the mentally unstable, how like the instability of their character. So Mr. Benedict was a very chaotic instability, which is normally associated with the villain. But Curtin was also very unstable, but in a very like calm way. It kind of was always in his head. He didn't. He was very calm and austere, versus Mr. Benedict. But that kind of still added into his villainy. And instead of taking me out of his character, it put you even more and more into his character.
Yeah. They set up at the end for a potential season two. Do you think we're getting a season 2? Has that already been announced?
So I looked it up. They haven't announced it yet, but there's several articles saying that it seems likely that they'll have a second season. There are 3 books, and from I have not read the other 2 yet, but from what I understand, that they do kind of follow the Dr. Curtin storyline as he continues to find other ways of exercising his villainy. But
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what happens to him at the end of the book. I read it very quickly a while ago, so I don't remember in detail what happens. Um, but I would be interested to see a season. I
Yeah.
would be interested to see how they develop the kids as the kids get better at doing their job. The actors do better.
Yeah.
I'd be more and more invested. Also, just to see that like team and camaraderie while still also having more of the adults
Yeah.
in there. I don't know if there's more adventures that they can justify. Like we can only send children. I don't know how many more times they can justify that, but we'll see.
Infiltrate yet another school. Infiltrate another school.
Yes.
I like having the lead now living with his teacher. I love Kate now having Mulligan, like they have kind of allocated them to adults in a way that would make the dynamic of a second season interesting, because they won't necessarily be like all together at a boarding school in the interim between now and when the second season starts. So it could be them like reuniting for another mission or something. Whatever happens next, second season, I'm totally down, because this was excellent. The fact that I moderately dislike the lead male hero is not a surprise and is probably a me problem. I do I do want to hear about What If. I know we have a packed agenda this week, and I know we only have 9 minutes left, but I want to hear about What If, and just save me like 2 minutes at the end to complain about The Bachelorette and pitch you a new show that is not reality and not The Bachelorette. There you go.
Okay. So, what if episode 1 is great? It meditates the idea of what if Peggy Carter was in the room when he got injected with the serum instead of outside. Although, to be honest, the actual twist is not that. The actual twist is what if some agent came to try to intercept the serum and like shot Steve, um, so that she's the only physically able person to get into the machine to get the serum. And it shows like her story of how it would differ, how she wouldn't, because she's a woman, they wouldn't have used her as a public figure as much. She would have been more of a secret weapon. What would happen to Steve? Spoiler: Steve becomes the first Iron Man. All that kind of things, and it develops. And at first, I thought they were actually going to end it happily, and then I was like, no, wait, this is a Marvel thing. Never mind. So they it has a twist on how the first Avengers movie ended, or the first Avenger movie ended, while also tying into the first Avengers movie, how that ended.
Huh. Okay, I'm sold. I'm ready. I'm going to be watching. I'm excited to see kind of what subsequent episodes do and which characters they play with. But anything that involves Peggy Carter, I'm here for.
I Yeah, I'm excited to watch the next few episodes, but I don't think I'll like any as much as I liked that one, because I mean, I liked Peggy already. And it was fun to see basically it be all about her and see how much they basically made her Gemma Simmons. The amount of times I counted on, like, I had these 2 whole hands full of references that I could have drawn between her and Gemma Simmons. And part of that is because it's an American writer, assumably writing a British woman. But so they try to give her the same exact humor, which is fine, but it's the exact same, while her also being very smart and capable and everything else. but it just made me fall in love with her because I was like, oh, yeah, it's the exact same character. Love that.
I have a type. You have a type. It is what it is, you know. I
It is.
while I did not watch What If, I did marathon an entire, I think, season and over half, almost 2 seasons of the Netflix show Virgin River, which has 3 seasons total, and I've watched most of the first two. Have you heard of it?
I've heard of it and I have not watched it.
Okay. It's okay. Like in terms of quality, it's just okay, but it's very like romance book tropey, and as such, I am obliged to recommend it to you. Like I marathoned it. I've been marathoning it very quickly and enjoying every second of it, and like I'm into it in the way I'm into like mindless romance novels. Highly recommend. It's also like there's something like weirdly nostalgic about it because it's sort of like if you grew up watching, trying to think of like, you know, any like When Calls the Heart type of stuff, or like, what would be a good example? I don't want to say like, and not like as old as like Little House on the Prairie, but just like anything where there's like, some woman goes to like a remote woodsy town to like be a teacher, and you know then there's like a hot guy that she falls in love with, and it's like this super formulaic like type of, you get the vibe I'm describing. It's that, but like modern. So then they'll also deal with like, you know, they'll like touch on like some mental health issues, and they'll touch on this or the, you know, whatever the case may be, that is indicative of it being in 2021, but like it's very like nostalgic in a weird way for like a time that I didn't exist in. Even though I am like super old, I'm like not as old as this is nostalgic for, but I still appreciate it. You know what I mean? Anyways, you should watch it. If you're gonna like it, you're gonna like it after one episode. So you would not need to like truck on through multiples. You can watch the first episode and know if you're gonna like it fully.
Okay.
The Bachelorette finale. Greg is terrible. However, the only other option for her was to end up with the lion from Madagascar. So she is now happily engaged to the lion from Madagascar. Let me explain to you the problem that I've run into, Kate. This whole time, and this is not just me, by the way, before anyone anywhere want, like no one cares, I know, but like before anyone does care, I have been saying he looks like the lion from Madagascar. And everybody online has
What
been
is
saying
his name? Let me look it up.
his name is Blake Moynes, and he 100% looks like the lion from Madagascar. Like 100%. You can literally look up Blake Bachelorette Madagascar, and pictures will come up because whole articles have been written about it. Okay. It's not just me. However, in the finale, it was revealed, which I didn't know prior, that apparently he like works for some nonprofit doing like wildlife something or other in Africa. So it just makes like the whole comparison we've all been making for like a million years about him looking like the lion from
Oh,
Madagascar just like almost weird, like borderline, like we shouldn't, I don't know. Anyways, I'm speaking for myself, and I think on behalf of everybody on
he
the internet who's been making this joke. We didn't know. We didn't know. However, the reality is that he does look like the lion from Madagascar, and she's engaged to him, so he won. So, like,
he
congrats.
dies. He dies, and he also looks like Wreck-It Ralph, and he also looks like the human version of Shrek.
Yes, 100%. He looks like a character cooked up by Disney turned into a human. Like 100%, he was a cartoon character that like it's like in a cartoon movie when there's like the brief second where all the cartoons turn to human. He's that. And he kind of acts like it too, low key. Like if you see
This is
him,
like
like
the
he
more
has this
socially
weird
acceptable version
animated
of
way of
when you
moving.
would, yeah, he has this, he's the more socially acceptable thing when people say that their first attraction as children was to the Lion King.
Yeah,
Like that's what this is.
100%. And with that being said, and also far be it from me to praise a male, he was by far and away one of the most attractive men on this season. This season didn't have like the world's most attractive men for the Bachelorette, but like everybody on it is technically hot on paper. You know what I mean? Like you don't end up on this show, whether you're guy or girl, without being like pretty typically attractive by like society's standards or whatever, however you want to put it. So most of the guys on here are like they could model for their local JC Penney's if they wanted to, at least. You know what I mean? And then there's some that could like make it up to Calvin Klein. But like you borderline, like at least you can model suits at JC Penney's, all of them. Blake was one of the more attractive ones. He's taller, he's well built, he was funny, you know, he like works for a nonprofit. He's only dated two other bachelorettes before this. You know, you gotta kind of take your wins where you find them. There was like a whole huge blow up at Greg. Katie was like telling him that he was faking being into her the whole time, that he's actually an actor and he was just acting. And she said exactly what I came on here and told you like 2 weeks ago when I was like pulling up pictures of him looking dopey with his hair in his eyes. And I was like, this looks weird because if you go on his Instagram, like a stalker, like I am, and you see the pictures of him, like on his Instagram, he's like, you know, and I pulled up the pictures where he's like this like shirtless guy who looks like a frat bro. Well, she accused him of coming on the show to like play a character because I guess he's an actor or whatever. All of this to say, I was right. I don't redact my statements about Blake looking like the lion from Madagascar, but I appreciate the wildlife preservation that he's actually doing or whatever it is. Regarding Stargirl, and I'm not sure if I read this out earlier, Carrie in the chat said, I like the fact that Stargirl started season 2 with a slow burn, giving the four kids the time to reconcile the offense of last season. Yeah, especially like the conversation that Courtney and Wildcat got to have and the Ted Grant mention. I thought that was really cute. Okay, we're out of time. Go watch First River. You'll like it. The Bachelorette is on hiatus until October.
Okay. Then you should go watch Gunpowder Milkshake and Good on Paper. They're both on Netflix.
Gunpowder Milkshake, and what was the other one? Good on Paper,
Good
you
on
said?
Paper.
Okay.
I want to talk about the insanity that is that movie.
I
It's
wrote
a good
it down
movie,
on a post-it
but
note like a grandmother.
like a grandmother, I'm proud of you.
Thank you so much. All right. We go return to our state of being nerds. I will see you same time, same place next week, wherein I may have watched Gunpowder Milkshake and Good on Paper, and I will definitely have watched What If. I will see you then.